Hello everyone, welcome back or welcome to my channel. My name is Melody and I make faith-based content here on YouTube. I post new videos every other Monday, so if that's something you're interested in, definitely be sure and subscribe. I would love to have you join the family. So as you can tell by the background, we're doing things a little bit different today. We have a lot of new family members over here and I'm so grateful that you guys are here. I feel like we're just overdue for a good old Q&A. So I asked here on YouTube as well as over on Instagram what your guys' questions were, ranging from relationships, marriage, motherhood, church, friendships, godly community. We even have a few advice questions, and I'm just gonna try to get through as many as I possibly can before we run out of sunlight. It is currently 6:38, so let's see how many we can get through. But before we do, I want to go ahead and quickly let you guys know that on August 22nd, you are most cordially invited to a Revelation Zoom Bible study. I'm going to be hosting a live Zoom Bible study with me. We're going to be studying Revelation chapter 5 together. The Bible study is completely free to attend. However, you can add on the Revelation 5 workbook, which gives you all of the notes that I'm going to be teaching on during the call. You'll have it all in one place, so you won't be frantically trying to take notes. It also is going to include a SOAP method breakdown that you can use far beyond the call. And I'm just really excited to get into this word with you. So grab your ticket down below, add on that workbook if that's something that you think you would enjoy. I think it's beautiful and totally worth it. And with all that being said, let's hop into these questions. So question number 1, if you see me looking down, it's because I have my computer right here. It says, does surrender to God look the same for everyone? I feel like the general heart posture is going to be the same when it comes to surrender. So surrender really implies that you are giving over your rights, giving over your preferences, really just living this life with your hands up, surrendered unto God. And surrender, when we think about it, let's use it as a battle term, right? You are surrendering, waving a white flag, and you're letting the other army come in and take control. And so that same kind of process is what happens, or what we as blood-bought believers should be striving to live for, or striving to live like, when it comes to walking in relationship with God. Not just being a Christian and kind of checking off the boxes, but really trying to obey God. That heart posture is going to be the same. This visual is going to be the same, but I do think it's going to look different from person to person, just like convictions look different from person to person. And so I think that same idea of conviction being very personal, surrender and the things that we surrender, in the manner in which we surrender, and the things even that we are surrendering is going to be different. But all of us as believers are to live this surrendered life. And it's not to say that it's easy. I mean, not that the question's even implying that, but that is the heart posture. And then we think about what Christ did on the cross for us, it makes living this heart posture possible. So great question. Let's hop into number 2. Question number 2 is very kind. They say, just wanting to know how you have really been doing, Mel. Hope and know all is well. I appreciate you asking how I'm really doing. Honestly, I feel like this week has been great. Some weeks have not been great. My anxiety, my goodness gracious, it has definitely been throwing me for a loop lately, but I also feel like I'm learning better how to cope in different ways, and cope in ways that are not numbing out, but actually facing it. And more than that, in the anxiety and in those moments of being worried or fearful, I've been worshiping, which is something that I have never done before. Like actively stressed, but putting on the worship song. Lately, it has been King of My Heart. Let the King of my heart be the fountain where I run, the fountain I drink from. Oh, he is my soul. So that has been really, really keeping me encouraged, having check-ins with my mentor as well, and her just encouraging me to be really intentional about my walk with the Lord in this season of my life has also been keeping me encouraged. So right now, I would say this week, this moment, I'm feeling good. So Thank you for asking. Let's hop into question number 3. So we had a few questions revolving godly community. One of them is how to find godly friends. We also had a question about how not to feel isolated when community isn't available in a particular season. So the thing that has made the biggest difference for me and where I found the most success in finding godly friends is getting involved and plugged in a local church. I would 100% recommend getting planted at a local church. If that's not possible, I think virtual, trying to find maybe a virtual small group to join. And then when it comes to not feeling isolated when community is not readily available, I think just reminding yourself and your heart during that season to ward off the discouragement. Reminding yourself that God hears your prayers for community. Be praying and be very intentional about praying for community. And then also initiate. If you think that someone might be someone that you can walk alongside in faith, don't be afraid to like reach out, to ask them to coffee, or want to go grab brunch after church. Really putting yourself out there, I have found, is another great way to make genuine connections. So I hope that helps. We're mixing up the angle. Next question is how to really let go of sin and not pick it back up. My pastor, I go to 2819 church. My pastor preached a phenomenal message about not making sin a pet, something that we don't think is destroying us, something that we keep around and we, have this little relationship with it. It really takes us looking at sin the way that God sees sin. And I think for us to see sin the way that God sees sin, we have to first see God properly. When we really grasp how holy God is and how he literally is so holy, he cannot be in the presence of sin. And when we think back to all the things in our life that we've ever gone through that were challenging, everything we've ever gone through where we've inflicted pain on someone or someone has inflicted pain on us, it all will wind all the way back to sin. And I think when we start to hate sin, that's when we are not going to keep playing around with it, not going to keep swinging back and thinking that it's no big deal. But it first starts with seeing God properly. And as we see God properly, we're then going to see our sin in the way that God sees it. And once we see our sin the way God sees it, we're not going to think it's cute. We're not going to think it's fun. We're not going to think it's no big deal. And so I think those are the 3 steps in that particular order. Okay, we got another question about my hair. Someone asked, do you do your own hair? If so, what spring twists do you use? They were always on point. Thank you, sis. I trust one woman here in Atlanta and one woman only. I will have her link down below. Her name is Princess. She runs a braiding business called Dainty Dolls. And guys, I did the color 4 this time. Usually I do 2, but we are like a nice 4, and then of course like the grays are all coming through and everything, but I love it. She does such a great job. Couldn't recommend her enough. And it's affordable. These Atlanta prices can be crazy. This will cost you $150. You just have to purchase the hair, and you get the hair for like, depending on the hair store, $8.99 to $9.99 a pack. So I will have her link down below. Tell her I sent you, Princess. Okay, we're gonna try to do 3 more questions before this sunlight goes out. First one up, how has the Lord kept you whenever you've experienced hardships and challenges? This is actually something that I've been thinking about lately. And so there have been seasons where, just challenging, you know what I mean? Absolutely, utterly challenging. But when I look back, I see and I get this visual of God literally having me in the palm of his hand. And so many times what that has looked like is, 1, him bringing me to scripture that literally is speaking to exactly what I'm feeling or exactly what I'm crying to him about or exactly what I'm needing encouragement in. The way that God is such a actual, tangible, present help in our time of need has blown me away. There are times where I go into my prayer closet, I cry out to the Lord, he drops a specific book of the Bible and chapter, and it speaks directly to what I just laid at his feet. I get chills just thinking about it. And it's in the moment where I'm like, God, you are God of the universe. You are sitting on the throne in glory, surrounded by 4 living creatures with eyeballs all over their body, surrounded by 24 elders who are casting their crown, yet still you are here in this closet with me. And in those moments where I'll speak for myself, where I'm discouraged and I'm feeling like, is this always gonna be my life? Am I always going to feel like this, Lord? this is too much, I'm just reminded that he truly sits high and looks low, and he's right there with me. And another thing that I've also noticed in my life specifically, and it really can only be appreciated in hindsight, is that God really be strategic for real. Like the way that he will bring people into my life, and it's a blessing in that moment, but then in the hardship and in the challenge, I realized that I needed to have these relationships to lean on, and I needed the mentorship to walk through that hard season and that hard thing. He really equips before you even realize he's equipping you. He's like literally playing chess when we're over here playing checkers. And so those are just two of the ways that I feel like I've been able to see God's hand just keep me in the challenges and in the hard seasons, through the relationships that he places in my life, the timing of those relationships, the way that people love me and show up for me. And I feel like it's truly just a glimpse of God's heart for me. And then in those moments where God literally just shows up, speaking to me, the verses, the chapters, and reminding me that he is right there with me. And I will say also, part of walking through the challenges and part of walking through the suffering is learning how to encourage yourself. We have to be able to go into the scriptures and encourage ourselves in the character of God. And that's something that I have learned how to do. And I don't know if I'm gonna cut this out or not. I don't know if I already did, but in the challenges, actually turning on the worship music. When you're feeling defeated and when you're feeling anxious and when you're feeling worried, I actually turn on the worship music and choosing to worship and focus my energy away from the thing that's stressing me out or worrying me or overwhelming me, and reminding my heart that God sits on the throne. That makes a huge difference too. And so hopefully that answers the question. Let's do two more. Next one is, any tips for those waiting for marriage? Be patient, be patient, be patient. Trust God's timing, trust his character, and be patient. I think there can be times when we are in waiting seasons and waiting periods that feel longer than we think we should be waiting, where we start playing this game. I like to call this make a deal with myself. Well, you know, they don't check all the boxes, but they check most of the boxes. Or, oh, you know, he kind of goes to church and like, maybe I could work with him. He's probably gonna grow more, you know, once he gets around my friends and we do do not take the lifelong commitment and the covenant of marriage lightly. And so in that, be patient in the waiting season. Trust God with your spouse. Learn to, one, love the woman that God has made you to be, or the man that God has made you to be. Appreciate your redeemed nature and personality in the way that God is redeeming you as a blood-bought believer, and enjoy the covenant with God. Because once you do get married, God willing, if that's a part of his plan for you, things will be so different. And so really appreciating that season where it is just you and God, and trusting him, learning to really trust him with a thing that, if you're anything like me, it was definitely a thing that one of those things that I wanted the most. And so learning to, like, going back to that first question, surrender, learning to surrender over to God that thing that you want the most, and trusting his heart for you, trusting his character. I think that is what you can focus on in your waiting season. So last question, we're gonna combine two, both about prayer. The first one is, how does your prayer life look like? And the second question is, how do you make sure that you remain consistent in your prayer life? This is actually something that I was just talking to my mentor about last week. I was in Orlando visiting family for this summer, like for a week or so. And whenever I'm out of my routine, like outside of Atlanta, outside of my home, I find it very hard to stay up and consistent with the Lord. And I've been going through a lot, and I've been feeling like the thing that I really need is time in God's presence, but I wasn't actually going to his presence and casting my cares onto him and praying and being in fellowship with him. And so I'm telling her this, and I wanted her to come up with like a spiritual plan for me to get me back on track. And you know what she told me? She was like, Mel, it really just takes intentionality. You're just going to have to be intentional. You're going to have to choose him. You're going to have to realize that you trying to do anything apart from him is fruitless. Everything that you do needs to be done through him. And when it's not, that's when you feel burnt out. That's when you feel stressed out, etc., etc. And I realized that the things that I've been feeling really overwhelmed about, which is like my to-do list and all the things I need to get done, etc., etc., it's because I've been trying to do it in my own strength. And so all that goes to say, staying consistent takes intentionality. And that's something that I'm still learning, having to remind myself of depending on the season that I'm in. And so currently my prayer life looks like, right now, I generally wake up at least one time throughout the night at like 2 or 3 a.m. Don't ask, it's annoying. But when it happens, I get up and I pray. And I realize that these are the moments where instead of just like wallowing in anxiety or worry, it's an invitation to pray. And so when I do pray in these midnight hours, I also make it intentional that throughout the day, whether it's right when I finally wake up, like for real in the morning, or at some point throughout the day, praying the Lord's Prayer. And it's not just saying, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, but I truly use that prayer as a guide. I'm gonna link below the sermon my pastor taught on this. And so that sermon has been really ingrained in my brain and informs the way that I approach God when I do pray. And so I always repeat back the beginning of that prayer, Our Father who art in heaven. This time I'm gonna pause and remember who I'm talking to. I'm gonna praise God. I'm gonna thank him for all the things that he has done in my life, waking me up, reminding myself that he is sitting in glory right now on the throne. And then I go into hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come. All right, let me pray about God's will being done before I bring him my laundry list. And so it's just truly using the template for prayer that Christ left for us in the scriptures, letting that inform the steps and the approach in which I take when I talk to God, I feel like has made a huge difference. It also kind of keeps me on track, you know what I mean? And it also keeps me praying about others, because sometimes the anxiety that I feel and the stress that I feel, it's because I'm so consumed with self that when I zoom out and I start praying about God's business and my friends and the things that they've got going on and just being concerned about others, it takes some of that stress and anxiety away naturally. I know that was kind of long, but I hope that all of that makes sense and helps. All right, friends, that is going to be it for me. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please be sure to give it a thumbs up, share it with a good sis or a good sir you think might also enjoy it. Again, be sure to grab your ticket for the live Zoom Bible study. We're going to be studying Revelation 5. I will have that linked down below for you. And now, of course, it is your turn. So I want everyone in the comments below to answer, what does your current prayer life look like? Just like I kind of explained mine. Let us know in the comments, what is your prayer life routine? What is it looking like? When does it happen? Let us kind of see what our individual walks with the Lord look like. I think this also is a great reminder that we all are individual, and what our walks with the Lord look like are also going to be unique and individual. So drop your response down below and definitely take a second and scroll on through. As always, I love you guys, and I'll see you in my next video. Peace.